Yeah, so I'm originally from Houston, Texas, currently an MBA student at the University of Michigan, and I'm 30 years old. Yeah.
So you're 30, that's still very, very young, and you decided to go through with the procedure to freeze your eggs. Tell me what was going through your mind and why you decided this was right for you.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things actually. Even before I decided to freeze my eggs, I'd always been weary about pregnancy and the ability to get pregnant early in my 20s, just because, every woman's body is different and you never know how you're going to respond to one trying to get pregnant or while you're pregnant, what's going to happen or what your body's going to do. And so probably like around 24 or 25, I was thinking like I probably want to go get egg count checked and all of those things before 30, just to make sure, one, that I was in a good position and didn't find out too late that there might be something wrong or what have you. And then the other thing was I was working at a company that had really good fertility benefits. And so I decided to go ahead and hop on those while they were still available to me. And that's kind of how the journey happened. And so, but it really stemmed from me just always being kind of concerned about what pregnancy would look like later on in life, just because you hear so many stories, especially about Black women having issues dying during childbirth. And then of course we have fibroid issues that kind of hinder fertility. So I've always been kind of like in my head about that. And so then this just seemed like the next right step, especially when I got to a company that was able to kind of cover those benefits.
Wow, how forward thinking you are because they assigned me to the story and then I started thinking about it. Like it's always in your head, but you sound like you did all the research in your 20s and you were like, so there wasn't a conversation that like a family member had with you about this or a lesson you learned in school that said maybe I should check up on it. It was just in you to like research this and know for yourself. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what about in your experience, because you've done a lot of research, is that in from your perspective, is this talked about enough?
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. I think, there's been a great step where you're seeing a lot more companies offer coverage for families who are trying to either plan or want to kind of go down the IVF route or even the egg freezing route. The benefits are starting to come around, but it's definitely not talked about. Because I feel like, every woman thinks that they'll have time and that they'll be able to do what they want. But I think also we all kind of know how the dating world is going right now, and relationships are looking different. They're happening later, and which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that and starting a family later, but like our bodies biologically aren't equipped to necessarily handle pregnancy and things like that later on in life. And so it's becoming more of a conversation. I think I've been leading the charge with my friends just because I've always been worried about it. But I have had friends as I've gone through this process who have reached out and have expressed interest as well who are around my age. And so I think it's becoming more of a conversation. I think it definitely needs to be a broader conversation, especially on the egg freezing front. As you can imagine, and both you'll find out, and from any doctor will tell you the earlier you do it, the better, just
Yeah,
because the viability of the egg that'll be available that you
right.
freeze. Um, and so I think, the sooner we start getting women who are career focused and career driven, who are kind of who might end up planning to put off family until a little bit later to freeze eggs in case anything happens down the road. Um, I think it'd be a great opportunity to kind of mitigate some of that and let people have the families that they want.
Wow, you're so smart, and I'm so thankful that you're doing this for your friends because I was one who was so focused on career that I didn't think about this. And what a service you're doing for your friends because you're right. If there's a certain amount of eggs that you need to have saved in order for it to actually work. So you're definitely helping them. I just talked to a doctor yesterday. Well, where are you in this procedure?
So I've actually completed the full egg freezing cycle. So my eggs are frozen and waiting for use whenever I need them. If I need them, the hope is that I won't need them. But yeah, I've completed the whole cycle from end to end.
So, how does that make you feel knowing that you have that part of life kind of, there in case of an emergency?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I'm happy that I did it. I do remember when I finished my procedure and I got home and I was like, wow, I just did that. And then I also thought, well, what happens if I get into a relationship and can naturally have children and then I have all these eggs left over? So that's kind of also where my head is at. It's like, what will I do if I don't need them? Is also one of my concerns because there are women who have issues with fertility, and so like, would I be one to donate? Would I? And my doctor was like, you can either just get rid of them or keep them for later, or but he said to hold on to them for a long time. So like, I'm not worried about having to make a decision, but that's kind of where my head is at now. Is like, the hope is that I won't need them, but then like if I do need them, okay, well, at least I have them. I'm glad that I have them. Very happy I have them.
Was it hard? I know you share this with your friends. Is it hard to have this conversation? Do you notice women are a little standoffish about it? What's your experience when it comes to talking about this?
So I think that we're very open to it. It's kind of like one of those things where I here in my program, I've actually told a couple of my classmates who are around my same age and some a little bit older that I did it over the break, and they're just all intrigued about it. And we actually had a fertility a conversation about it last week. And it's like a two or three part series for one of our health clubs for women who want to start planning for families to think about fertility when they get their jobs post school and jobs that have coverage. So we're definitely having those conversations here at school, and it's one of those things where it's like, again, I'll tell somebody and their eyes just light up. It's like, wait, you just turned 30, like, and you've already done this procedure. Because I think the most people, like most of my friends who have done it, are 35, 34, 35 plus. And so to do it this young, I think is not as normal, but um, I think it's definitely something that people are interested in, for sure.
Okay. I think those are, when did you do it? You said you just got it done over the break? Christmas break?
So over Christmas break, from December like 23rd through January 5th, I was going
Oh,
through the whole
wow.
process. Yeah, so
Very awesome. Is there anything that you would like to say to somebody who might be considering this, who might be nervous, who might have the concerns that you have about what if I don't need the eggs and what do I do with them? What would you say to that person?
yeah, I would say, the best thing to do is to protect yourself against, anything that might happen. You never know what's going to happen to your body, how your relationships will pan out. And even like if you're able to have a kid naturally the first time, something may happen to where it's not as possible the second time. And so if your company is covering it or if you can afford it, I would say go ahead and go do it. Because you never know what's going to happen. Life it will always life and do things that are unexpected. And so if a family is something that you want, being able to properly plan for it will be something that you're going to be thinking about. And this is just one step to take. And I think, down the road, the leftover eggs and what to do with them after will reveal itself. And I don't think it's something to really just be worried about. But and as far as like the process itself, it's very smooth for me. I didn't really have any issues. Um I enjoyed my doctors. I enjoyed kind of the comfort that they gave me. And so it's not as scary as you think it is either, going through the whole thing.
You mentioned doctors before I wrap it up. How did you find your doctor? Finding a good doctor is so important. So, did you talk to several doctors? Did you just were you lucky to find the right doctor right away? What advice do you have about that?
Yeah, so I definitely think that, the benefits offered through my company were very, 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 very good. And we were partnered. I was basically partnered with like a different insurance company to cover this and kind of communicate about all of the doctors and like what would be allowed with in service and not in service. And so that made my process very easy. They had a
Mhm.
directory of doctors who they recommended and partnered with, who the procedure would cover, and that also tied into the pharmacy. And so because I was moving kind of quickly to get this done. And on full transparency, I was working at a company that was going through layoffs, and I anticipated getting laid off in a couple of months. And so I quickly kind of hopped on trying to take advantage of the benefit before it ran out, which thankfully I was able to. But so I found a doctor local to me where I was at, and then I did have to transfer to Houston since I was in California at the time. And but they were able to transfer me to a doctor local in Houston, and he just turned out to be great. There was only one option for me, so I didn't really get to shop around, but I would say that that would be important. Definitely kind of do your research and really kind of look into the doctor's history, read reviews, and make sure it's somebody you feel like you can trust. I was very fortunate with the doctor that I was partnered with. He was great.
Celeste, you're amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's so helpful, and I'm sure it's going to open a lot of eyes. When I was with my photographer yesterday talking to the doctor, it was James Perry, and when we finished, she's like, "Oh my gosh, I got to go home and talk to my daughter about this and let her know." So the more we talk about it, the more we might be helping somebody with their future family. So thank you. Is there anything else you want to say, or you want to make sure we add in the story?
Let me think. I think that that's mostly everything. Yeah, those are the key points. I think it's great. One of the best things I did to end out the year last year.